So when they came to us and said, listen, we really want to go to Reprise. We think that it's the best thing for us to do. And we said, okay, if that's what you want, man, that's cool, we understand. We don't want to keep somebody here if we're going to hold them back. It just makes no sense. And that comes back again to the sense of community, and what's good for them is good for everyone else. And I'm not going to hold my best friends back to us to stay on Eyeball and only have and not have the success that they could possibly have on a worldwide level.
We sat in on meetings with major labels. There was one in particular down in South Jersey where it was the president of Warner Music, an A&R, me, the band, and we went to an IHOP, and I found the guy to be so condescending towards me and towards the indie community, and you know, I was sitting there feeling offended to the point that I wouldn't accept them paying the check. I paid the check myself and was like, don't worry about it. And the band seemed to have the opposite opinion of the meeting, like, oh, that went great, you know, and I was, okay. I thought it was horrible. At some point, the contracts were just signed.
I talked to Alex once. I called him up on the phone. I was like, hey, what's going on? It had to be about 11 o'clock at night. And he was pretty drunk when I called. He was definitely like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, you know, I just had some crap happen with my chem, you know. And he wouldn't really get into details about it. And he just said he felt pretty devastated about what happened. I know that it wasn't a good thing.
It was hard, you know. It's sad. Like if somebody says, you know, we don't want to work with you anymore because we feel like you can't do the job that we want. But it wasn't said mean. It wasn't said meanly. It wasn't malicious. It wasn't messy. It was like, okay, dude. Well, if that's the way it's going to be, then awesome. Best of luck, and I can't wait for the ride because it's going to be fun. And it has been. It's been fantastic to see these kids, you know, come back from playing Brett's Basement to they played the Meadowlands Arena. You know, it's just insane to think about that. To go from, you know, 15 people to 15,000 people in a matter of a couple of years. They would never have been able to do that with Eyeball.
Retroactively, after they signed, they went back and included us in that deal, which was really noble of them. It was really cool because at that point, nobody was really talking to each other. They could have just backed away, and they went back and they took care of us, which was cool.
All the bands that we had been used to seeing playing, you know, basement shows and Bloomfield Ave and things like that, they were getting signed to major labels, so it wasn't the strangest thing. And I don't know, I read on, you know, gossip sites that maybe it wasn't as nice as it should have been, but I don't pay attention to that stuff.
And I know there was a lot of talk, a lot of gossip that was like, we had a falling out, they left, we don't talk to each other anymore, we all hate each other, and it's like, it's the furthest thing from the truth. You know, I'm going out with Mike tonight. They're home right now writing, and you know, I talk to Mikey every day. Like I said, I talk to Gerard maybe twice a week now, but it wasn't like that at all. It was like, well, I love you guys, and I can't wait to see what happens.
After carefully considering all of their options, they decided to go for Warner Reprise Records. The band felt the label would allow them a far greater level of creative independence.
And the band has, you know, been smart and, you know, kind enough to be, you know, to honor, you know, their old ties, and so they, you know, they're always dropping the name of Eyeball Records in, you know, interviews.
You know, they've said in interviews, like, we're always going to be an Eyeball band, and I feel that way too. You know, like, you know, we did too much together to just turn your back on it.
The group took to the road and toured constantly for a 2-year period, during which they generated a fanatical following across North America and Europe. Their reputation for incendiary, life-changing shows was as much of a pull as Gerard's well-documented alcohol problems.
The way they, you know, told me in interviews is like, you know, we want to be kind of a little